Warning: the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
Bring that down just below mouth level. There you go. So, all right. Welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B, and this is Coffee Break Conversations for the 21st Century. So now we're back in the new studio again. This is actually not the first one we're recording, but you guys don't know that. So anyway, I'm here with a special guest today, someone visiting from across the Atlantic, although she doesn't have an accent, is my kid sister, Lexi B.
Hey, everyone.
Should he go by Lexi, or do you want to go by Alexis?
No, definitely Lexi.
Lexi?
And do I address like everyone, or do I address you?
Hey, talk to me.
All right.
That's
Hey,
fine.
Steve.
Hey, what's up, kid? So Lexi is now. If you guys have listened to the show before, you guys know I have a complicated family history. Lexi is the one family member that I actually have pretty much always gotten along with.
Yeah.
You know, and like
Least complicated.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I watched you grow up. I was 10 when you were born. So I actually babysat you, watched you. Like, it's a different relationship you and I have than I have with any of our other siblings.
Yeah,
Any of our other sisters.
I remember. You made me cry at your wedding telling me this story. I'm your kid sister. You have to always protect me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not repeat those tears, please.
Oh, okay. Did I say that?
You were pretty drunk.
I wasn't drunk.
No.
I wasn't drunk at the wedding.
And then you guys invited me back to your room, you and Betty. Betty told me the same thing, made me cry
Really?
again.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, we're definitely
emotional.
We're not going to do that tonight. What we're actually going to talk about tonight is something I've been waiting to talk about kind of world traveling, although today we're going to focus on Europe. So you're one of the few people that I know and I'm close with who's actually really gotten to experience different cultures up close and personal. You've been a lot of places.
Yeah.
You've experienced a lot of things. And I want to talk about that because, you know, like we've spoken about before. That's something
definitely.
that a lot of people don't get to do.
For sure.
You could be, you know, an old man and never having left the same fucking state you live in.
Yeah.
You know? So this is something I think is important for people to hear about because it's not just for rich people or like, you know, someone who works for like a corporate company where they have to travel over the place.
Yeah.
Like there's deals to be had. You can afford it. It's doable.
Totally.
And it's so worth it. And I think a lot of people overlook that. They think it's out of their reach. And I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's exactly the stuff that I think people need to hear to let them know that it's possible for them as well.
For sure.
So what was the first time you actually left the continental United States?
Oh gosh, I was actually older. Older compared to where I am now. I'm 25, and first time I left the U.S. was actually when I was 22. I ended up just buying a flight. I was super poor at the time, like undergrad, just had gotten out of undergrad, really wanted to explore. So took a month off of work and found a super cheap, like $200 round trip flight to Europe. And
where in Europe? You can just buy one to Europe, please.
Well, so I found like an $80 flight from, I think it was JFK to Norway, Oslo, Norway.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy it. I have no idea where I'm going to go from there. I have no idea what Norway is like. I'm just going to go and figure it out. So bought the flight to Oslo and then kind of started puzzle piecing the rest of the trip together. Ended up finding like a Bon Iver concert that was going on in Luxembourg. So
super hipster.
Yeah. So bought a ticket to that like a day before my flight. He canceled his tour, so I was like heartbroken. I was like, why am I going to Europe? But it was awesome. Like my first time, went to Norway. I hitchhiked onto a boat. Got to see the Northern Lights.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Most people get a car or a truck.
No. I figured,
caught a boat.
Figured like if I'm gonna do it, might as well do it.
Hitchhiking
like,
on the beach.
Well, it definitely wasn't a beach. Norway. I don't think there's any beaches in Norway.
Yeah.
Some like icebergs. Stick your thumb out.
Yeah.
So went to Norway. Went to Amsterdam. Where else?
Hang on. What did you do? Like, obviously, you're 22. You said
Yeah.
you did this. How did you afford this? Like, what was the cost?
Cheaply. Hostels, Airbnb. My first Airbnb, I stayed in Oslo, Norway, and the guys that I stayed with, they were also in their 20s, never had met an American before. So they were like pumped that they were meeting an American. And so I got there and they threw me a party. Like,
wow,
full on party. All of their friends were wasted. They brought like everyone from work and they took me out like for the weekend, and we just basically partied for the first couple days that I was in Europe. But yeah, just being able to experience that was pretty cool.
How long were you there for?
In Norway, maybe like a week, but overall, I was in Europe for about a month. Didn't make like a geographically smart decision where I went. I just went to the cheapest flights or trains to get around.
And then when you went, you had like an end date in mind? Like you knew you were going to be there for that long?
Yeah,
or it
yeah.
just...
So I had an end date that I knew I had to be back for, and my flight was out of Porto, Portugal, because again, super cheap flight back.
Anybody on the East Coast, pay attention, because the closer you are to the Atlantic Ocean, the cheaper the flight's probably going to be. And that goes on both sides. So for us here in New Jersey, a flight out of Newark, a flight out of JFK, LaGuardia, those tend to be pretty cheap, especially if you're flying to Porto in Portugal.
Yeah.
London is one of them, Dublin, Ireland. All of those are cheap places to land in Europe that are good starting off points too.
And I wasn't living in the Northeast when I took these flights
yeah, you were
either.
down-
I was
down
down in
south.
Charlotte, North Carolina. And so what I did was find a cheap flight from Charlotte up to like JFK or EWR and fly out of there. So even though it wasn't like the most convenient way, it wasn't a nonstop flight, it got me there. And that was kind of my end goal.
So how do you think you were affected by that trip? I mean, now before I know the first time I went to Europe, like I wasn't backpacking. I was only there for like a week, and I only went to 3 cities. But I really felt like I was deeply affected by it. But like, in what ways do you think it hit you?
Yeah. For me, it taught me a lot about myself. I think, again, Bon Iver, you can kind of put the pieces together. I was definitely like going through an emotional time.
I don't know any songs by him, so.
And so I was really just trying to figure out what I wanted in life, and going to Europe and being on my own, it really made me grow in like, wow, I can go to a bar and people still want to hang out with me and talk to me. Like, they don't need to be my childhood friends. I can go and do new things, and it's going to be all right. Like, I don't need kind of that comfort blanket or comfort zone to stay in to feel like I'm having a good time.
It's always like a great epiphany when you realize, like, oh, I could just go do whatever.
Yeah.
Like, things will probably work out. Like, as long as I'm not addicted to people.
Exactly.
We could really...
just don't be an asshole, and you're gonna be fine. And I think that trip really was kind of the baseline to make me realize, like, why am I like staying in one place?
Or, oh no, yeah.
Fuck you.
I love you.
No, but like, why am I staying in one place? Why, now that I'm living in Charlotte, I got a job in Charlotte, why am I going to base my whole life here? Like, there's so much more in the world to see and experience and people to meet. Like, why just stay in one place?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, when I first went, like, me and Max went to Switzerland, and that was the first time I when I was a kid, I went to Puerto Rico. And it was like, okay, you're at the hotel. Great. You could be anywhere. It's the same fucking hotel. It's not an experience. But go to Switzerland, actually talking to people and like going out around the city and just kind of seeing the way, but not just, you're not seeing tourist things, you're actually talking to people who live there.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
You're hanging out with people the same way you would hang out with your friend. You know what I mean?
You're not going to a museum and still staying kind of in the tour group and doing the same like tourist path. You're indulging in the culture.
Yeah, and it's seeing like sometimes the small, sometimes the big differences in the way we live, like here and in other places. It really opened my eyes. I'm like, wow, there's a lot more out there that maybe I took for granted, and like all it is a flight away.
Yeah.
And most people, at least in my experience, were very nice. Like, I mean, France, we'll get into that later, but no offense to any of my French listeners, which I don't even think there are any. So. Fuck them.
I got some French coworkers, so I'll just keep this away from them.
Yeah. But yeah, most people are pretty cool, and I think that simple rule of just don't be a dick, and most people are gonna tend to be cool.
And just say hi, like just say hello when you go to a bar, when you go to a restaurant, like introduce yourself. The worst thing someone can do is look the other way or not answer you.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, it's just not that bad.
No. Everyone's gotten rejected or ghosted before. Like, they can say hello to someone.
Yeah, you made it out. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But that's true. Just be friendly and still respectful, and you should be okay. You could do a lot. You can go far.
Yeah, I think I've made a lot of friends and connections that I never thought would be long-term friends, but we were in Amsterdam together and did some
Just on that trip,
crazy
that first
stuff. Yeah,
trip?
that one first trip. Like, I have friends from that trip that have moved all around the world, went to Asia, came back, and now we're living in the same city. So we became friends just from a random encounter in a hostel or at a bar throughout Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have any friends like that.
Well, you're not that cool, and you don't have that many friends, so.
I don't, but I have the podcast.
Yeah,
I don't like to think of my listeners and now viewers as friends. Aren't we all? Anyway, so that was your first trip, the first time actually leaving the U.S.?
Yeah.
When did you decide to literally move out of the U.S. for more than just a vacation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was living in Charlotte, came back from that trip, and within like 5 months, I moved out of Charlotte. I was like, you know what? I need to see more of the world. I didn't really move that far. I moved to California for work. And then about a year out there, I came kind of just out of luck, out of some hard work, kind of right timing. Got an opportunity to move to Luxembourg out in Europe.
Which is a country for anybody who's unfamiliar.
It's not in Germany, just to make that very clear.
It's its own country.
Has its own language, too.
What countries does it share borders with?
Trivia. Belgium, France, and Germany.
Okay.
And you can get to either any of the three from the city within 30 minutes.
Luxembourg is a very small country.
Yeah, you can walk the entire country in a day.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
So if you ever, like, if that's on your bucket list, like, go there.
It's the Rhode Island of Europe.
Yeah. I think it's smaller.
Oh, my God. Anyway, continue. So, you got an opportunity to go from Cali to Luxembourg.
Yeah, so Cali to Luxembourg, like, I was living in Orange County, so super nice beaches to frigid cold in a valley in the middle of Europe, knowing absolutely no one. The national languages are French, German, Luxembourgish. Like, people don't speak English there. I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
You blew my mind. I didn't know Luxembourgish was a language.
Oh, yeah. It's a interesting one.
Do you know anything in Luxembourgish?
Moyen, that's hello.
Really?
And adi, that's goodbye.
Is it anything like what? Is it similar to another language?
It's like a mix of French and German, and then, like, all this other stuff thrown in, like, where the hell did you get that? But, I mean, I'm not going to knock it. Like, cool country, amazing quality of life, really big banking city, similar to Switzerland in that aspect. And then about 5 months in, I realized it's way too small to live there long term. So I ended up with my job. I got the opportunity to move to London, so ended up in London. But all kind of amazing opportunities that I took advantage of.
Okay, so let's backtrack. When you first got to Luxembourg,
yeah.
What was the biggest culture shock you went through?
Fuck. So I normally talk with my hands, obviously. Like,
you can talk with your hands, just don't knock over the glass.
No. I mean, I'm plotting this story.
Oh, this is part of the story.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, being from like Philly, Jersey, I talk with my hands. It's just part of my life. Going to Luxembourg, I didn't realize I'd only be communicating with my hands. Like, no words were getting across when I would go and eat somewhere. It was all pointing or, can I have a baguette or pizza? Like, so that was probably the biggest thing for me, was just the language barrier. You don't realize how important and, like, part of life it is that you just communication. And that's definitely a huge thing that I realized going there. You take it for granted that it's just easy to communicate with one another, and going to a new country and living there, not just visiting, but living there, having to go to a doctor and explain your aches and pains in French when you don't know French. It's pretty difficult.
Yeah. Full immersion.
Yeah, definitely. Thankfully, like, I had actually like a medical emergency. I had to go to the hospital, but nobody speaks English, especially at 2 a.m. in the morning.
But there wasn't anybody?
Not in the hospital.
Really?
So thankfully, I had an Irish friend who spoke French fluently. So he was drunk from the bar and like came with me drunk, like trying to translate for me to get me the help I needed at the hospital. But yeah, it can definitely be a challenge. At the same time, though, Luxembourg is kind of a melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
So there are definitely people from all over Europe there. So you end up meeting people that you speak English with because it might be your first language, but it's someone else's second, and it's the only way you can all communicate in one sitting when you got someone from Spain, someone from Germany, someone from the U.S. all sitting in one place.
Move a little closer to the mic if you could.
Sorry.
There you go. No, you're good. But you didn't have like, did any of your friends speak Luxembourgish?
No, God, no.
So I remember we talked about this I think yesterday. Like there's like less than how many? It was 6,000 people speak the language.
Yeah, it's like the population of the country, which is smaller than the population of Newport Beach, like where I was living.
Mm-hmm.
That's the entire country. So like, it's not a language that a lot of people know. Like on the flip side, like you can speak German or French there. People do speak it because those are also national languages. But in a country that small and being that it's a banking city, not everyone's from France or Germany. So you get people from Italy, you get people from Denmark. Like it's really a big mix of like Europe.
So what are some other things that were surprising to you? Like just the little differences, like the day-to-day things that most people don't even think about.
Yeah, so Luxembourg specifically was like mega culture shock. They don't have like same day, next day Amazon. I was like, whoa, like how do I get my stuff?
We're so privileged.
Yeah. First world problems.
Yeah.
But even like, so Luxembourg is very like old school. They're not influenced by other countries. Like they are very much authentic to themselves. And so like Sundays, for example, is like a big family day. So everything shuts down. Like grocery stores aren't open. Bars, restaurants, they're typically closed. So those normal like inconveniences where you're like, oh shit, I forgot bread for the week to make sandwiches.
Too bad.
Yeah. Sorry, I guess you're carb free this week. Yeah, so stuff like that, which I just never realized was an issue, quickly became an issue or just something I had to adjust to.
That was also something I noticed, like especially when I was in Madrid, is accessibility.
Yeah.
You know, like here we're used to, there's, a 24-hour CVS, or we can go to Quick Check or 7-Eleven, or the grocery store's open till midnight.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff that we take for granted, that's not a thing over there. They're
Yeah.
like, fuck you, the store's closed. Like we're people too. Like we're going home to relax.
Now that I think of it, like sangria, for example, you drink a big bottle of the sangria and the next day you have a hangover, better hope the doctor's open because you're not getting ibuprofen from a CVS. So that was another thing for me, like over the counter, like self-medicating to aid all of your symptoms. Like that doesn't happen in Europe. It's super different, the healthcare system. And in certain ways, amazing because everyone's entitled to it. It's something everyone's entitled to be healthy.
Yeah, it's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's a bad thing. Like you can't just go grab it yourself and do it.
Just fix it.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, no, go to the doctor. That's what they're paid for.
Right.
That's why they went to school.
They'll
take
help
care of you. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird to us, but I guess if you're brought up in that environment, it's the most normal thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like the way we do it is probably insane.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
it's
probably
definitely insane.
in the wrong on this one.
Yeah, I think we are. I think it's safe to say that the way we do things is pretty fucked up here. Especially when it comes to the healthcare system. But
That's too political for this talk.
yeah, we're not going to get into that. We're going to steer clear of those divisive topics. But it's fucked up here. Anyway. So, what are some of the the places you've been and I mean, here's a very broad question. Like, what are some of the places you've been, and what are some of the things that have surprised you about those places?
Gosh, I've been
pick one place, a cool place you went to.
Cool place I've been to. The Amalfi Coast.
Okay, in Italy.
Yeah. So the Italian Riviera, I guess, or like the Med.
The Mediterranean.
Yeah, nice
For
place.
any of the plebs out there?
What surprised me about it? How many goddamn couples there are that love to honeymoon and can afford the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Right, you afforded it on your own. So,
no.
I mean,
One of my good friends, her family is from there, so like we crashed at her family's house. Gorgeous house, but I mean, we definitely got off on the cheap side of things compared to someone who's going there to honeymoon or go to Capri and rent a yacht. Like, I'm definitely not like Kim Kardashian over here, like not rolling in dough.
But like, what was it that surprised you about that place? I mean, like culturally, like, let's talk about like people. You know what I mean? Like, I know, for instance, when I went to, where were we? Were we in Amsterdam or Barcelona? For my honeymoon, we went to Barcelona and then Amsterdam. Oh, sorry. Like, for instance, something a little like tipping when you go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's not a thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Most places it's not. You know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
I left a $5 tip on like a $30 bill, and they were like, "Oh, okay, you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." And like, "Oh, well, thanks a lot."
Yeah. Now, see, in some places that would be like, "Wow, you are so generous." In other places, they'd be like, "Fuck you!" Like,
yeah, they're
you
offended.
Asshole. Like, I can afford to live because I get paid well. And so, like, for example, in Luxembourg, someone would be super insulted if you tried to tip them like that. Like, even water in Luxembourg, you have to buy it. Like, if you go to a bar, it's not just like free, like, oh, can I get like a glass of water to go with my drink? Like, water is more expensive than beer.
That's insane.
Yeah. So the stuff like that culturally is totally different. Again, stuff I would totally take advantage of in the U.S. that I didn't really appreciate.
What else? Like, what are some other places that were like weird?
Oh gosh.
We've both been to Amsterdam.
Yeah, been to Amsterdam.
I
love Amsterdam.
Since we're talking about Amsterdam, there's two things that most people who've never been there want to know about. Legal weed.
Did you smoke pot?
Yes, and I have a story about that. Legal weed and the red light district.
Yeah.
So, first off, the red light district is exactly what it sounds like. You walk down the street, and there's big windows, like, in the front of these little... not really like a storefront, but it's, like, along the walkway that you're walking. And it's, girls, prostitutes.
Yeah.
Like, hanging out, just waiting for a customer, pretty much. And it's as simple as that, But at the same time, it's not, like, filthy. Like, it's one of the cleaner cities I've been to. Like, it's really nice.
Oh, yeah. I would say Amsterdam's beautiful. Like,
I loved it.
Like, the tourist stuff aside, because you ask someone who's from the Netherlands or from Amsterdam, they'll tell you, like, those are tourist attractions. Like, that's
Big time.
Disney World for us.
And they're like, specifically the red light district.
Yeah.
That's the place where people get mugged the most.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, like the thieves and pickpockets and stuff, they prey on drunk people who don't really have their wits about them.
Again, it's a tourist area, so they're going to prey on tourists. Like, that's what happens, unfortunately, because we tend to be ignorant when we go to new places or are in new cities and don't actually understand the culture or where your surroundings are. Yeah.
But, so did I tell you the story about our first night in Amsterdam?
No.
So me, like the tourist I was, I decided, hey, we have to smoke weed. Like, it's Amsterdam. You got to do it at least once.
Yeah.
Once is fine. Like, I'm not saying we need to be, toasted for the entire trip. So we went to this little cafe. It's a weed cafe. It was maybe like 3-4 blocks from the hotel. And we walk in, and the guy's like, oh, hey, how you guys doing? Like, can I help you with anything? I'm like, we're kind of just browsing. Don't really know what we want. And he's like, oh, well, do you have any idea, like, which strain you want? Do you want, like, a sativa or an indica? And me, in my infinite wisdom, I knew I wanted an indica, but I had the names switched in my head. So I'm like, I want sativa.
Oh, God.
So I got the wrong thing, first of all. So now the guy's like, oh, okay. Well, do you want, you want it in like a blunt? Do you want like a mix, like a tobacco? And I'm like, yeah, like a mix of like tobacco and weed. I thought it would be more mild.
No way.
It's actually way harsher.
Yeah.
So now.
Go ahead.
No.
I'll tell you a lesson learned after this.
Okay. Yeah. See, I didn't know. I'm trying to be cool in front of my new wife. I like, oh yeah,
I got this,
don't worry,
babe.
just follow my lead. I got it. So we went outside, and it was raining out too. And I told him, like, listen, when we smoke this thing, I don't want to just go sit in the room. I don't want to be surrounded by the four walls and start freaking out or something. So let's just stay out. So okay. I'm sorry, I got a flipper in here.
Oh, good.
Little flippers, or they don't really go up or down. They just kind of flip back and forth like a little pinball flipper. Anyway.
Jesus.
It's a guy's podcast. What do you expect? All right.
Do you need a tissue? I've got tissues.
I'm gonna cut this part out. Got it. So we go outside. Now we're under like an awning, and it's raining out. And we light this blunt up.
Yeah.
And we start smoking. And Betty had never smoked anything in her life, not even a cigarette. So like just the concept of smoking something like is foreign to her. Like she's not understanding how to inhale properly and everything. So and then I'm trying to show her, and now I've like smoked half of this thing by myself. Someone who doesn't smoke weed. You know,
Your fingers are like melting as you're trying to help her.
I'm fine still. I'm like, okay, come on, you got to help me out with this. I don't want the whole thing to myself. Like, this is going to get on top of me way too fast. So she's like, I don't know. I don't feel anything. I can't do it. I'm like, all right, we'll just put it out. We'll save it for later. So I put it out. I saved it in the little container. And she's like, oh, well, let's walk back to the hotel so I can drop this other stuff off. I'm like, okay, but we're going to stay out, right? She goes, yeah. I'm like, I don't want to sit in the room. Okay? She goes, oh, okay, let's go. We start walking back, and as we're walking, you start getting that warm feeling.
Yep.
Like, I feel it slowly creeping on. I'm like, ooh, okay, it's kicking in a little bit. I still feel good, no problem. And then we got to the hotel lobby. And then, when you walk, when it's wintertime, and they have, like, the heaters that blow heat, like, really strong. As soon as that hit me, all of a sudden I went, and I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, this is going to be bad. So we go up to the room. She's like, oh, it's raining. It's so ugly. Why don't we stay here? It's like, no. So now it's hitting me hard. Like, and this is only like 15 minutes since we smoked it. And I was like, this is going to be a rough night. And I started instantly thinking of Martin Lawrence. He did a stand-up bit talking, and he's like, the whole line was that the guy you bought weed from like gave him something that was way too strong. He said, the weed man done gave me the ooh wee. So I'm like, the weed man gave me the ooh wee. And next thing you know, I'm just laid up in the bed, and I'm like rubbing my legs together, like I couldn't get comfortable. I was squirming around. I'm like, this is the wrong stuff. Like, something's wrong. This is not what I remember.
They drugged me.
Yeah. Everybody knows I'm high. But it was bad. I ended up throwing up that night. It was really bad. Yeah. And Betty was like,
yeah.
What's the attraction with this?
Next time you should just ask them, like, hey, I want to feel warm and fuzzy, or like,
well, hang on.
Give them the feeling, and they will set it up for you.
Next time I should put my ego aside and admit I don't know anything about weed.
Yeah, that's probably a good starting point.
Yeah, but that was my first night in Amsterdam.
Nice.
And that was also the last time I've smoked weed.
I mean, at least you set the bar low.
Yeah. But we had a great time other than that.
Yeah, good.
What was the lesson learned you were going to tell me?
That was the lesson learned. Next time, just tell them what you want to feel like, not what you want.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody listening, not a big weed smoker, definitely do that. Just
Even if you are, like, you're going to Amsterdam, just
that
put
shit
the
is on a
trust in
different
them.
level out there. But yeah, just be humble, okay?
Yeah, unless you're like from California, you're a pro at this.
Yeah, unless you're a grower yourself, that's your Cheech or Chong. But you know what I like the most about Amsterdam? Biking, riding bikes.
Well, all right. So to be fair, I've never biked in Amsterdam. I did, however, bike in Denmark.
Okay, which is not Amsterdam.
Yeah, not Amsterdam. Denmark is in Copenhagen. Similar types of vibes.
Copenhagen is in Denmark, I thought.
Yeah, you're right. Right. Sorry, had a couple drinks.
Where have you really been?
But I rented a bike for my hostel when I was in Copenhagen. This was on my first trip out.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? Copenhagen's the most bike-friendly city in the world, apparently. Like, I got this. This will be good. You almost lost a sister like 4 times.
Really?
I had people yelling at me. I like hit a curb, like crashed into a rack of bikes. They all fell. Like,
oh my God.
Like domino effect down.
Would you like just forgot how to ride a bike?
No,
how did this happen?
It's just like so intense. Like, it's like there are more bikes in Copenhagen than there are cars. Like,
well, Amsterdam's the same way.
I don't know. It's like on another level. Go and let me know. But I nearly died.
When we were in Amsterdam, I noticed way more bikes than cars.
Yeah. Apparently, they take out like thousands of bikes from the canals every single year.
Yeah, I see that
people
happening.
just like fall in.
Well, that's the thing a lot of people don't realize, too, is that Amsterdam is a city built on, like, it's all canals and, like, it's built on water, basically. So it's like a less wet version of Venice. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they kind of, I guess they don't really have gondolas in that sense, but there's a shit ton of boats.
Yeah, lots of boats.
Which was the wedding gift you got me, a nice Nice ride down the river.
Winston Churchill's boat.
Yeah, so that's
Little
what they
history.
said. Yeah. That was a cool thing, though. We get to ride through, and it was Christmas time when we went to see all the lights. And they had, here's the thing that was weird. They had like the light festival.
Yeah.
So everything was all lit up, and they said, "Oh, we have the longest light fixture in the entire world." It's literally just a red line that just they string all down the canals. Like, it's not impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty
It's just a
talented.
red line that's lit up.
But they thought of it. That's the point.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, great. Well, whatever. So, what other places have you been that were cool?
Oh, gosh.
I know you've been to Budapest.
Fuck Budapest.
Budapest, Hungary.
Yeah, I have. I wouldn't say that's on the top of my list.
Yeah.
If we're talking about highlights, that's definitely not a highlight for me. So we want to get into Budapest, or should we talk some more highlights?
This is educational for people.
Oh gosh. Well, so
Talking to the mic, though.
at the point I went to Budapest, at this point I had been living in Luxembourg for probably 7 months. No, not even. That's a lie. Probably like 5 months. And so I was getting my bearings. Like, I travel a ton for work, so I had been on a ton of flights. Like, been to pretty much every major city in Western Europe. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start Eastern Europe. Like, gonna start checking those ones off, kind of the bucket list. So it was right after I actually saw you in Madrid for New Year's. I, from Madrid, took a flight to Budapest. I was like, I'm gonna start 2019 off with like a solid start. Like,
You were stoked for that trip, too.
I was pumped. First night we went on like a booze cruise. It was fun. I stayed at a hostel, but I stayed at like the #1 party hostel in Budapest. So they took us on like a cruise down like the main river of Budapest that splits the city into two. I should have known on that like boat ride that it was going to be a really bad weekend. I was wearing these boots and they had no traction on the bottom, and I busted my face, like completely slipped on, like someone spilled champagne. I slipped on it, like ate it right in the face. Like I should have broken my front teeth. I had like this massive bruise on my forehead, like the entire time I was in Budapest. So it already looked like I had gotten beat up. Like I had this purple and blue bruise
People
on my
see you with a big bruise on your face.
and-
Oh, great. She doesn't listen.
Yeah, so I had it on my forehead. I had like
right over your head.
cuts.
It was a Dave Attell joke.
Oh, no.
Last time people saw you with a bruise on your forehead, they said, great, she doesn't listen.
No,
Okay,
yeah,
forget it. Continue.
Sorry. You're older than me. Sorry.
Just
Yeah, so I
So-
had cuts, bruise on my forehead, massive bruise on my chin, like could barely open my mouth. It was so stiff from falling. And so the next day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it another shot. Went and explored Budapest. I was walking back to the hostel because we were going out that night. And I ended up getting mugged, like on the street by myself. Sun was going down. 2 guys came up, cornered me on a wall. They took my phone. They took my wallet. They took my passport. So I got stranded. Somehow I was able to find my way back to the hostel, thank God. Convinced like these young boys that were working at the hostel to like let me stay an extra night because I couldn't get to the embassy until Monday. And meanwhile, it's only Saturday. I have a presentation Monday morning in London. I like basically had to no-show my boss because I couldn't contact him. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have any money, so it wasn't like I could bargain with anybody. And I also had to wait for the embassy to open to get myself an emergency passport. And at the same time, had to convince someone at the hostel to lend me like $150 so that I could pay for an emergency passport. Because, you know, apparently when you get mugged, you still are expected to pay or have someone wire you money. So yeah, that was, I guess, the low light of Budapest. Really fun city, but really taught me not to be so ignorant about traveling on my own. I think up to that point, I had such an amazing experience everywhere I went that I kind of got like hazy eyes, like didn't actually see the realness of places and what can actually happen or what can go bad. And I mean, thank God nothing worse happened, because that situation could have been a lot worse than what it was.
Of course.
Yeah, so it definitely opened my eyes to be a lot smarter when I was traveling around Europe, especially because, you know, traveling for work, I'm by myself 9 times out of 10, and I work late nights. I'm walking home to the hotel at 11, 12 o'clock at night, it might be worth a $10 Uber versus taking that risk. And
Going
so
down
those
a
are
sketchy street.
yeah. So those are
alone.
things I think about now.
Yeah, for me, before we left for that the honeymoon trip, I had found, like I said, that show I told you about. It's called Scam City.
Yeah.
I found it on Netflix. I don't know if it's still there, but it basically went through it.
Is this like a Netflix ad right now?
No,
Not
I mean,
sponsored. Hashtag.
I was sponsored by Netflix, but they pulled the money out. And I
Assholes.
said too many derogatory things about Italians. They weren't keen on that. But no, seriously, but the show Scam City is this guy. He goes through all these major cities all around the world, and he kind of, not so much that he exposes the scams, but he shows people like where the pickpockets are and like how they target people, what methods they use, and all this stuff. And you could see all these different things. And that I was like, wow, like that shit is out there. And like, they had one for both the places I was going for my trips. I'm like, okay, I should just at least be on my guard.
Definitely.
And that's when I bought. Speaking of advertising, I bought this backpack, which I wasn't planning on showing on the video. I just happened to have it here, but it's anti. It was like
we planned this entire thing.
But seriously, I didn't plan on it, but it's anti-theft. If you look, there's no zippers around it.
Yeah,
everything's on the back side.
Ah, interesting.
So people can't just get into it.
Right.
And it's got all these like hidden compartments and stuff like that.
Cool.
It was like $40 on Amazon.
I mean, it's worth it. At the end of the day.
And I didn't have to feel. Not that anywhere we went, I felt unsafe.
Yeah.
But I always just had that extra layer of confidence where I'm like, listen, if anybody tries anything, they're not going to get anything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm safe. You know?
And it's not me saying, like, because you know me, I've been on my own for years now. Like, I'm not saying don't be independent as a girl when you're traveling through Europe. Like, be a feminist. Do you. Be a strong, independent woman.
Just don't be...
Just be smart. Like, don't put yourself in situations that are riskier than they have to be. Like,
don't be delusional.
Yeah,
like, the world, there's still bad people out there,
and they'll still stereotype you because, unfortunately, of your race or your gender. And so you have to think of those things, unfortunately, in the world that we live in, and be smart about the situations you put yourself in.
Definitely, that's something that goes for no matter where you are, here, there, anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
like, just be realistic about where you are and what you're doing.
Definitely.
Who might be around.
Yep.
So, here's one. Best and worst food.
Oh. I would say best food is, I mean, Italy all around, great in terms of food. However, I think the most surprising place that I went that I was so impressed by their food was Madrid.
Really?
Yeah, I fell in love with the food in Madrid. Like,
I was very unimpressed by Madrid's food.
I love tapas. What about the restaurant I took you to?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good restaurant, but I wasn't blown away by anything I had in that city.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the food in Madrid. I mean,
you must
Spain
really
in general.
like cured ham, you know what I mean? Like cured meats and
big cured
dried
meats,
cheese and olives.
Yeah.
I had some
Well,
good olives.
I actually hate olives.
I didn't like olives until Barcelona.
I didn't have olives in Barcelona.
I just decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to eat these things.
Yeah.
If they suck, then I'll know for sure. But if they're good, then I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Gotcha.
And I ended up liking them.
I mean, hands down, if you're just looking for all around, like, anyone would enjoy the food, I would say Italy.
Yeah.
Like, pasta, pizza, can you really go wrong?
So we talked about this earlier today, too. Switzerland was my first trip to Europe. And the thing that I like the most about it is, you know, if anybody's unfamiliar with the country, Switzerland is surrounded by 4 countries, actually, by Germany, France, Italy, and a little bit of Austria, I believe.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong about that last one, but I know Germany, France, and Italy. So depending on which part of Switzerland you're in, whichever country you're closest to, they kind of absorb that culture. But they still... So it's like I was in the south. I was in Lugano, which is an hour north of the Italian border. And everything there is Italian. The people speak Italian. The architecture looks Italian. The food is Italian. But you have all that organization and the cleanliness of the Swiss, where it's like you get the best of both worlds. You get all the culture, and everything is pristine. And the food I had there, because, you know, definitely in Europe, the regulations on the food,
it's
so much stricter, and like the food comes out better. Like, just here, you could buy organic food. And it doesn't really make it taste any better.
Yeah.
It's not better. It just, you know.
I mean, even the ingredients in boxed, like, foods that you get and store in your cupboard, so much more regulation goes into that in Europe than it does in the U.S. Like all these chemicals that are in the food in the U.S., they don't exist in Europe.
Yeah, but also you could buy something in Europe and the next day it's already gone bad.
Oh,
like, it
for
doesn't
sure.
last as long, so that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
Most people, they buy what they're going to eat that day.
Yeah,
Like, buy what they're going to eat for the day that day.
Every day when I walk home, like if it's not me, it's one of my flatmates. Like we always stop at the market and pick up food. Like
you have the English lingo already.
I mean, people don't understand me when I'm like,
No.
oh, my roommate or my apartment. They're like, what?
Yeah.
So I had to pick it up.
No, you have to adapt.
For fuck's sake.
You have to adapt to survive.
Yeah.
But
and also like you bring up a good point. Like, and it was something that got called out to me pretty quickly on when I moved to Europe. Like I was still talking or acting like I was back in America, and people were like, "You're an asshole. Like, you don't live in America. Like, this is our culture. These are the things we say. Like, these are flatmates. They're not roommates. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, it's not a restroom. It's a toilet. And it's small things like that. If you don't change your behavior, it does come about like you're a bit arrogant and you just aren't willing to change or willing to adapt to the place that you live.
Well, it's funny to me that a lot of the same people like here in America that you'll say they get mad at people from other countries that come here and they don't assimilate, they don't try to adapt to the culture. They get mad like, oh, you're in our country, you speak English, you do this. But then those same people might go to another country and then they do the same old American thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're doing the same thing that you were mad at those people for.
Exactly.
So like now at least you understand like, yeah, it's not that easy. Like you're not trying either, motherfucker.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a big thing. You want to assimilate to the culture that you're living in.
Definitely.
At least a little bit. You might not have to, renounce your American culture.
I don't have to
at
be
least,
like F the USA. I live in like Europe now. Like absolutely not. I still love the US. I love where I'm from. I'm prideful of it. I love being from Philadelphia. I always talk about it. Cheesesteaks, one of the best things ever. However, like I also don't want to be a dick, and I do want to make friends, and part of that is being accepting and willing to kind of adapt. It's not like I'm changing my beliefs. It's just
I'm here now, and they do things a little differently.
Yeah, I don't have a British accent. I still talk like I'm from the Northeast.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're not telling me porky pies, is you?
My mom.
I'm sorry, Eldridge. If Eldridge is listening to this, he was a guest
taking
on
the
here.
piss.
He's taking the piss. Is he having a laugh?
For fuck's sake, mate.
What? Bleeding hell. What?
What?
Bleeding bloody hell?
Bloody hell.
You ever say bleeding hell? The bleeding thing? The ruddy thing? Or maybe that's just Harry Potter.
Fucking wanker.
That wanker. Who was saying, Craig Ferguson was just saying this. He was saying that wanker, you hear that more with Australians.
Oh yeah, they all say wanker.
Aussie, 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 hoi, hoi, hoi. Did they do that?
No.
No? I was lied to then.
No, I did that once. They're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Kindly leave.
Like, all right.
Yeah. I'll see myself out,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, best and worst food, though. You say Italy.
Yeah,
I
I'd
say
say
Switzerland. In the south
Never
of Switzerland.
been, so I can't comment.
Just because of the fact that you still have the Italian culture.
Yeah, but you're influenced by Italy, so is it really Swiss food?
No, it's Italian food. Okay, I'm not debating that.
Yeah.
It's Italian food, but in Switzerland.
Fuck off.
I'm telling you.
That's like me going to like Chinatown and being like, well, it's Chinese food, but I'm in New York City. Do you like New York food or do you like Chinese food?
But there's no such thing as New York food.
I mean,
my point is that was where I
New
had
York pizza is a thing.
New York pizza is a thing, but that's one food item.
Hey, but it's a food.
And New York pizza is like a Northeast thing because New Jersey's pizza is just as good.
Yeah, Jersey
and you
has good
can't really
pizza.
differentiate between New Jersey and New York pizza.
I'd say that's fair, but I would say it only is Jersey and New York. To be clear.
What about PA? Could you get that same thing in PA?
There are places.
Eastern PA,
Yeah,
I think you
PA.
can.
There's some places.
The closer you get to the Atlantic, the better it is.
Yeah, like
But
Mac and Mankos or Manko. Mac. I don't know what it's even called now. In Ocean City, Jersey, like it was like a staple. All the guys worked there. Like, but apparently it's not that good. So
we're having
don't go.
We're having the best pizza in Somerset County tonight. We're having Russo's Pizza. Shout out to Russ and Tony. Those guys have been running that place since God knows when. But I'll see them tonight.
You've hyped it up, so I'm looking forward to it.
It is good.
The
It's
bar
really
is
good.
high.
Everybody from this area has a place where they get their favorite pizza from. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
And I get very, I don't want to say snobbish, but a little snobbish when it comes to pizza.
Yeah.
Because, like Betty and her family, they're from Miami, and you can't get that kind of pizza down there. So they literally have never, before this, they really didn't have the experience of getting it.
No, I firmly agree with you on that. Like, going to school in South Carolina, people would be like, "Oh, you want to order pizza tonight?" Yeah, for sure. All right, I'll call Papa John's.
Oh,
I'm
God,
like,
don't get me started with Papa
whoa.
John's.
No, I don't want pizza if it's
Yeah.
Papa John's.
I said pizza, not shit.
Is it my Papa John or
Yeah.
is it Papa John's? There's a difference.
What was I going to say? Yeah, Tyler doesn't, he only likes Domino's and Papa
Of
John's.
course.
And I it's hard enough that he's such a picky eater normally.
Yeah.
And when I see him eat that pizza, it breaks my heart.
Shameful.
Because he won't try the other pizza. He won't do it. And I'm like, he might take a bite, and I don't like it. I'm like, you goddamn, yes you do. You're full of shit. You like it. Don't give me that. Nobody doesn't like this pizza. What was the worst food you had in Europe?
Gosh, absolute worst food. Maybe beans and I'm gonna insult people. I can't even say it because
Listen,
I've got friends out there. I mean,
this is just what your personal preference is. It's not to
All right.
knock another culture. You're just saying what you personally like and what you don't.
beans on toast for breakfast.
In England.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I'm not really keen on trying it.
Like an English breakfast itself is just coming from the Northeast, having diners, like having like a proper breakfast, and then going there and people getting hyped for beans in like this tomato red sauce on white bread. That's just repulsive.
Yeah.
Like that to me is not appetizing, and the UK just got it wrong. Like I can't accept it.
Well, it's like, we're tend to be a little on the heavier side here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it's for a good goddamn reason.
Yeah, more to love.
Because we know how to eat.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, our portion sizes are also absurd.
Oh, that's true. That I definitely noticed. That to me surprised the hell out of me. Like, you can't get breakfast food anywhere else in the world like you can get here. Like, we nailed breakfast here.
I mean,
But we also nailed getting fat off breakfast.
fast food, obesity.
Yeah.
But I mean, Italy, like they eat a croissant and have an espresso, and like
they have like a
that's
little
breakfast.
something
like in France, it's not uncommon to have like some cured meats and cheese before you go to work. Like that to me, just not growing up with that, it's like, where's the Captain Crunch?
Yeah. Where's the omelets? Where's the hash browns? Where's the cream chip beef? Where's all that
like,
shit?
can I have a pork roll, egg and cheese, please?
Oh, well, I mean, the pork roll / Taylor ham, you can't get that outside of this area.
But actually, so I'm a big fan of butchers.
Okay.
So I find a butcher.
Like, you're attracted to them? You like to date them? Or
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed
you
if there
admire
was
the
a
profession?
good-looking one.
What do you mean you're a big fan of butchers?
I mean, knife
technique?
I
What is
like
it?
having.
Talk to me.
I like having like my right hand guy when it comes to meats.
Okay.
Like someone who, if I want a good steak, he'll hook me up. So every time I move somewhere, I try to make friends with a butcher because they'll hook it up. Like they'll slip you a bottle of wine that's gonna pair well.
That's a
like
good
you'll
hookup.
impress your date. Like, and so I have a butcher friend when I lived in California, and he started like basically importing it in from the East Coast, some Taylor ham or pork roll. And so we'd have like breakfast sandwich days in our, not flat, but house out in California. Like, if I've learned anything, it's make friends with the butcher.
Yeah. My rule of that was make friends with a hoist operator.
It's a hoist operator.
When you work in construction on a high rise, they always have the temporary elevators that run outside the building. Always make friends with the guys, guys and women who run those things, because if you need a ride and you can't get one, it's gonna be a long day for you.
Yeah.
But that's totally unrelated. So make friends with the butcher.
Yeah,
Okay,
make friends with a good butcher.
I would say the worst food that I had in the few places I've been, which admittedly I haven't been that many places, was France.
Really?
And I think it's really just personal preference, because there's some people that swear by French cuisine.
Yeah.
And it's just, nothing I had there was good,
I mean,
At least to me.
Also, you were in touristy spots in Paris.
But even when we went to Verdun, and it was like I couldn't find anything. I'm like, they had a burger on the menu, and it was just like a greasy mess, and it was a nice restaurant we went to too.
I mean, if you go to France and you don't actually order authentic French food, it's not good.
But
But like,
yeah, I don't know anything about French cuisine.
if you're having like escargot, like they're gonna do a good job. Like things that are actually authentically French, like are pretty damn good. But do I actually like the type of cuisine that's French? Not high on my list. So I think it's like slightly different. Like, yeah, if you order a cheeseburger in a 5-star restaurant in France, like it still might not be that good.
All right, it wasn't like a fancy restaurant, but it was like a nice establishment.
Yeah.
You know?
But if you're ordering American food, they might go,
I was an American. The American food. What do you want from me?
well, you're in France. See? Don't be an ignorant American.
It was on their menu.
Yeah.
If you can't fucking make it, take it off the menu, assholes. What, do they have it there as a trap for tourists? They go, watch this asshole order this.
Yeah.
We'll
Dick.
fix him. Yeah. Son of a bitch. I just imagine every French person's outside smoking.
That, you know what? Culture shock. How many people smoke in Europe?
Yeah.
I was not like mortified by it, but I was just in shock. Like, I guess growing up here, when I was young, like they took it out of every restaurant. Like they took it out of being able to stay in a hotel that had a smoking section. Like that stuff doesn't exist. You have designated smoking areas now. Whereas like I was in line getting into like a club in Paris, and like in the line, like everyone next to me was just smoking. I felt like I was in a chimney. Like I just couldn't breathe. I was like hot boxed, but on the side of the road, just because so many people smoke. And like it's just such a part of culture versus like I don't know, trying to convince people it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I know. But my first trip, when I still smoked, we were in Lugano having breakfast on like the side of the lake. It's like gorgeous out. We're looking at palm trees, and they have a nice little espresso, a nice little like pastry, smoking a cigarette, just hanging out. I'm like, wow, we really fucked up back home, man. This is the way we're supposed to do it. I know the cigarette. I don't know. I didn't notice it as much. I didn't notice that many people smoke.
I definitely have noticed it. Living there, I've definitely noticed it. I don't think, to be fair, when I traveled there, it didn't really like, I guess you're so like mesmerized by what you're seeing that it's not the first thing you think of. Like, it's just like, it's kind of like.
You notice it, it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
whatever.
you're just ignoring it. But once you start to live there, like once you're walking the same path every day, like walking in the same roads for work, and you see the same asshole that walks in front of you every day blowing smoke in your face, like that's when it starts to piss you off. Like, God damn it, why does everybody smoke here? Yeah, so I think it started to hit me once I actually lived there.
What was the dating scene like?
Fucking
At least, I mean, between you were in Luxembourg,
Yeah.
you were in London.
yeah.
Like, what are some of the differences you noticed? Because like you said, you're 25. You're still very young. So
Still very single.
a lot of the listeners don't get any ideas. It's my kid's sister. But I'm sure this is
You
stuff.
can slide into my DM if you're cute.
I won't put any links, but good luck. Anyway, but no, like, what's the dating scene like? How is it different from here?
All right, so good question. I would say Luxembourg, if we're just talking about the actual place, it's shit to date. Reason being, it's so small that, like, if you go out on one date and then, it didn't work out, by the time you meet the next person, in some way, you're connected to the person you already went on a date with. Wow. Whether they're best friends, they're coworkers, your coworker knows them, like, everyone is connected. So it's really difficult, even if you have like a bad impression on somebody, to like ever let that person let it go and like start fresh with someone, because everyone's just like intertwined.
You can never really get that far away.
Yeah. Or like on the flip side, you're in a bar, you're going on a date, and like in walks 3 of your coworkers. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, let me put my jacket on because I'm
But you would think,
in a sleeveless shirt right now.
But you would think, though, in a country like that, that's so small, you could literally just drive, 45 minutes and be away from everybody you know.
I mean, you could, but like, well, I'm not going to drive 45 minutes to go on a first date. I once actually, to be fair, well, I keep saying to be fair. God damn it.
There's nothing wrong. That's not a weird thing to say.
I once went on a first date because Luxembourg's so small. I was moving into like my new flat in Luxembourg, and so I convinced this guy, like, listen, Tuesday is the only day I'm free, and I really have to go to IKEA. So like, he ended up driving me to IKEA across the border. Like, we crossed international borders on our first date. It got really serious. And we went to Belgium to go to IKEA, and he helped me shop for my flat. Never saw the guy again, but pretty cool.
Did he buy anything?
No, he just carried all my stuff for me, which was great. And he drove.
I guess that's good.
Yeah, it was a win-win. It was like an
Not
hour
for
and a
him.
half by bus.
It was a lose-lose for him. Didn't get dinner out of the deal, and he had to
Nothing.
go chauffeur you around.
Yeah, the like inside restaurant that IKEA has,
The
like the
little
Swedish.
cafeteria?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was closed by the time we got around to it. Yeah.
What else? What about since you've been in London?
London, definitely better in terms of like how many people there are. Definitely more options. Obviously more opportunity for guys to be assholes. Yeah, I mean, it's good and it's bad. Tons of people. However, English culture is very different from American culture. Like, going into a bar in the U.S.
Teeth, right?
What?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Did I get something in my tooth?
No, that was like that old Mike Myers skit. Like, you just talk about how the English have bad teeth. Like, the English toothpaste is made of like butter and sugar and stuff.
Actually, I've been to bars before, and people will be like, "You know why I know you're American? Your teeth." But back to dating. In the U.S., like, if a guy likes you, they'll come up, even if they're creepy. They'll ask to buy you a drink, or, you know, oh, what are you doing? Like, do you want to go dance?
Mm-hmm.
In the UK, it genuinely feels like someone knows something about you, and everyone's talking about it, but like, you're out of the picture. So like,
So everybody knows a secret and you're not in on
and
it.
everyone's like, they just like stare, and it's like, do you like me? Like, are you gonna come and talk to me? It's just constant staring and eye contact, but they don't want to be rude, and for them, like, they want to be polite, and being polite is by not approaching you. And so no one's very direct when they're interested in a girl.
It's weird. You think that's a generational thing?
No,
No, you don't think that's just something that
because
young people spend too much time on?
no way,
online?
because I've met some Italians in London, and they are not afraid to come up and have a glass of wine already ready, poured for you. And so I genuinely think a part of it is culture and how people want to come across. Like Italian guys, they aren't going to take you out for a first date. They want to have you come over and cook for you because they want to impress you. Whereas like in England, you go for a pint after work, and then you end up getting like sloshed on a Wednesday because you just had way too many pints on a Wednesday night. So I think it's just different based on where you're from.
Who else have you seen? You've seen, English, Italians. Who else have you seen, dating styles of?
So I've gone on dates with some Australian guys. My first date with one of them, he showed up absolutely pissed. Like,
Drunk.
Drunk. Sorry. Drunk, for anyone that doesn't know.
He was so mad.
He was so pissed.
Yeah.
Came super drunk to the date. Like, didn't even remember it the next day. Like, he was like, did we see each other? I was like, yeah, you asked me to come and meet you.
Yeah, you threw up on my shoes, man.
Yeah, so the dating experiences I've had with like New Zealand guys, Australian guys, you end up drinking just a ton. They definitely like to drink. I think my favorite people to date are like Irish, because they're very funny and like super witty, but they also get super drunk as well. So it's just a good win-win,
It's a good balance
good
of the two.
environment versus like some of the Australians are a little bit of wankers, as we said earlier. Like, they can, it's like they're just, their shirt's half tucked in is like a good way to describe like how they live their lives. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Like,
Elaborate.
they've got like a good job, they got their life together, but like they're just not all the way put together
Yeah,
yet.
they're still
like,
rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, they're still in the outback.
Yeah. That's fucked up because it's like I always heard like a derogatory thing that like English will say about Australians, like, the convicts, you know?
Yeah.
Because Australia used to be like a
Yeah.
prison colony of England, essentially.
It's interesting. My boss is Scottish, and he was like, "Oh, how was your date last night?" I was like, "Oh, it was good." He's like, "Oh, where's he from?" I said, "Australia." He was like, "Nope, don't do it."
Oh, that's fucked up.
I was like, "What? Why not?" He's like, "Oh, they're a bunch of wankers. Like, in some way or another, he will screw you over."
Wow. Pretty direct.
Yeah, but I mean, the same thing goes like in the UK. People have stereotypes for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have coworkers. They're like, "Oh, where's the guy from?" Like in England, I'm like, "Oh, he's from like the north," and they're like, "Oh, he's gonna want to put a ring on it within a year." Like, they like families.
Really?
Yeah. So it definitely depends. There's stereotypes everywhere.
Interesting.
Same way we have them.
Yeah,
They're
well,
out
I mean,
there, too.
everybody's racist to a certain extent. So listen, we're coming up around an hour. Let's end off in this one main idea. Say we're talking to somebody who's never been out of the U.S. or looking to go to Europe on a trip. What is some practical advice you would give that person? Or even somebody who's on the fence about whether or not they want to go.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say to a person like that?
So I think I have two pieces of advice.
Okay.
The first, don't be an asshole when you go somewhere new. Like, you're entering someone else's world, someone else's culture. Be appreciative of what you're going to take out of that experience versus coming in as if America's the best or like you have already seen and done everything that you can in life. Like, you're always going to experience something new. And if you go in with that mentality, you're not going to get a lot out of that experience. You're going to waste it.
Mm-hmm.
I think my second piece of advice is just be willing to feel uncomfortable. Like, when you feel uncomfortable when you travel, that tends to be when you're growing as a person. That's when you're going to see things and experience things that you wouldn't necessarily do in the States. You might not go to, I don't know, a rooftop bar at 11 o'clock at night when you're with your friends back in Hoboken. Or not Hoboken, that's a terrible example. Like,
there's rooftop bars in Hoboken.
Yeah, but like, you might not go. Maybe you're like, I'm past that part of my life. Like, if you're in Barcelona and someone's like, hey, we got a rooftop party, go to it. Like, be uncomfortable. Do things that you wouldn't normally do. It really opens you up and opens your eyes to not only what the world is like, but like what you're capable of as a person. And I think it's amazing to see yourself grow in kind of the, not spiritual, but like the internal part of your life.
Like your character itself.
Yeah.
Like your perspective, I think, grows a lot just from seeing the way other people live and understanding that your way is not the only way, nor is it necessarily the best way. You know, I think a lot of people, especially here, well, not just here, I guess really everywhere, there's always people that, you know, they live and die in the same place.
Yeah.
You know, like they never really get to experience anything different, and you essentially live your entire life in this kind of bubble. Like, you need to get outside of it. You need to see what else is going on, because how can you even appreciate the things you have?
Yeah.
Maybe you can go see the way something is
and not like it
and hate it,
Yeah.
and then you come back here and it makes you appreciate what you had even more, and it makes the rest of your life that much better. Then he's like, oh, it could be worse. It could be over there. You know?
Yeah. In one way or another, you're going to learn something from it. In one way or another, it's either going to make you appreciate what you have more, or make you appreciate the experience, or appreciate who you are as a person and what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's on your own or with friends, like, you're going to learn something about yourself through travel.
I agree 100%. And then if you're on the fence, just fucking book the trip. Just do it. I promise, even if you have a shitty trip, you're still going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
It's still going to be worth it. So
Definitely.
Hey, Lex, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to.
Of course. You're in the new studio.
Yeah, next time you can come to London and we can do another one.
I might just want to come to London to hang the fuck out.
I mean, I'm down for that as well.
Yeah. The podcast, we'll take a week off. If
Fuck
that's
the podcast.
Yeah. Don't really know.
The equipment's too heavy.
Yeah, it's really not. I can fit it all in this little suitcase
Oh,
here.
then you coming back with me?
Well, nah. But again, thank you.
Yeah.
And guys,
Enjoyed it.
You guys already know where to find us. If you're watching us, we're on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, rate, comment, like, all that good shit. If you're listening, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, everywhere that you can get a podcast, we're there.
Hey, and if you're single or you have friends that are single, call me, DM me. Let's make it happen.
Don't do that. Cutting this part out of the show. All right. But anyway, you guys know where to find us also. APodAmongstMen on Instagram, Twitter, APodAmongstMen@gmail.com with any comments, questions, suggestions, whatever you got, we're there. So, Happy New Year again. And I guess we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.